Hello, this is Kiki.
And Mrs. Kaneki.
We are coming to you from the future, doing a little check-in from what is the recording of our first episode. So we want to address some additions to what we've talked about and some corrections, as well go into some disclaimers and trigger warnings.
We are going to be talking about, murder, violence. There is a rape scene in this movie. So if that's, too much for you, feel free to skip ahead or just listen to our next episode.
Yeah.
And with that too, we do go a little bit into politics as well, at least for the USA in 2024. So if that's not your jam, skip ahead. I think that starts at about an hour and a half in, right?
Yeah, so basically once we start talking about it, we're kind of done talking about Perfect Blue. We go into much more of a cultural kind of conversation of just kind of what's going on in the world. So
yeah, and how it relates to the movie and all of that. And then secondly, we do have just a few corrections on this episode. We do, or at least I talk a little bit about a Disney animator. His name is Mitt Call.
And correction for myself, I'm talking about areas of the USA, and I say suburban and urban when I do mean suburban and rural. Again, it's our first episode.
We're not that good yet.
Yeah, we are not professional, so it's just better to keep it in and correct it up top.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you for coming to listen to us. Go on to an experience with Perfect Blue, and we hope you enjoy.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I guess we can start for who are we or who have we named ourselves.
Oh, right. Wait, I wrote it down.
I guess just a welcome to of Sad Girls in Anime.
Okay, yeah, we are Sad Girls in Anime.
Hi, welcome to Sad Girls in Anime. That's what we are.
We are very sad.
Yeah.
And we watch a lot of anime.
Yeah, we're such sad girls. So sad. So sad. Do you remember in Little Witch Academia, where the little fish in Little Witch Academia and the Professor Pisces episode?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
So sad.
So sad.
So sad.
I totally forgot about that guy.
So sad. That's what we are.
Okay. Well, we decided to give ourselves different little names to go by during this podcast. I am Kaneki.
And I am Kiki.
We are K and K.
K and K. Well, we were both originally Kiki because we took the same test and that didn't work.
Yeah. So we're like, oh, we're a little too similar. I did do a bunch of different responses to yours, because I was watching you do yours. And I did a bunch that were different, but somehow we were the same.
We are one and the same.
Yeah. So I went and I took a separate, different one, and then I got Kaneki. So we're like, okay, that's cute.
Yeah.
K and K.
Yeah, K and K. So, of course, Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service.
And then Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul.
Yes.
Yep. Funnily enough, I haven't finished that one. And it's been finished for, a long time now.
There's too much to watch in this world.
Seriously, too much.
Which is the premise, that is the purpose of this podcast too, is we're going to try to help you weed out what to or not to watch.
If you just watch something and you really loved it and you just kind of want to hear somebody's deeper take on something or just a different perspective, just kind of really get a feel for something or appreciate something more, just whatever you want to do.
Exactly. We are just here to be sad girls and talk about anime.
Yep. And sometimes movies. We'll do movies too.
Yeah.
But
just various. We'll branch quite a bit into quite a few things.
We'll get a feel for it, Yeah.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. Okay. Well, today we're doing Perfect Blue. And this movie premiered in 1997 at the Fantasia Film Festival in, funnily enough, Canada. It wasn't released in Japan until 1998, so a year later, which I thought was kind of weird. I always thought it was just a Japanese thing, But no, it was at a film festival, first in Canada of all places. And the movie runtime is an hour and 21 minutes, so it is a short watch. It doesn't feel short though.
No.
Because you're very, it does grab your attention very, very well throughout the whole film. Like, you're not really bored. At least I wasn't. I do tend to like slower films in general. Like, a lot of things that I like, other people will say like, oh, that was so boring and slow. But I'll be like, really? I loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
And this too, so Perfect Blue was a recent watch for both of us. Watched at the same time. We made a thing of it based off of your recommend. Where did you first find out about it?
Oh, wow. I think it was on YouTube. I'm pretty sure I was watching just like a recommendations on horror movies. And they were talking about a bunch of different ones. I mean, they talked to some of the big ones like Midsommar and Hereditary and, you know, some of the other big name horror movies, It. And then they also went into more lesser known ones, like Perfect Blue was one of them. And I was like, oh, I've never actually heard of that before. I bet Kiki would love. Just gonna get, it's harder to get used to. I'm like, wait, don't say your name.
We'll get there. We'll get there. That's the beauty of an auto medium. We can just edit it out.
Yeah, there you go. We'll just like edit over on top of it.
Yes.
No, that's such a great idea. Let's do that.
Yes.
But anyways, I was like, oh my gosh, she would love this. This sounds like a great thing. And we're both really into film and animation. So I'm like, I want to experience this with you. This will be great. So.
Well, thank you for thinking about me with that. And I remember when we finished watching this, because I'm glad you said, like, I want to experience this with Kiki. Because I remember specifically saying, thank you for recommending that and being in that experience with me.
See, I knew it'd be perfect. I was like, this is meant to be for us to watch together. Like, this will be great. But anyways, do you want to kind of go into some more information about that show?
Yes, most definitely. And with that too, do you want to point out too where you had the recommendation? I remember talking with you about it. We couldn't find it.
Oh, yeah.
Initially, it wasn't where it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Cough, cough, you know, big conglomerates of streaming. But then we did manage to get a hold of it. But I also remember listening on This Ends at Prom podcast with BJ and Harmony Colangelo. And that also really got me. I'm like, okay. Then it became a vision that
we have to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect Blue is a manga series written by Yoshikazu Takeyoshi. This then was made into a film. The animated film that we know as Perfect Blue. The director is Satoshi Kon. You will, of course, know him for Paprika. That's the other. These two have a very similar visual.
From what I've heard. I still haven't watched Paprika yet.
And we'll get there.
Yep, we'll get there.
So, director, and then very fascinating thing looking into is who animated. Who is Madhouse. Now, Madhouse, you're going to know a lot of these. They've done a really great amount of animation just in general.
Fantastic repertoire.
Yep. So Death Note, of course, very known.
Of course.
We were talking about Wolf Children, very interesting one. Hunter x Hunter, Overlord, another one we were talking about. And then, of course, Frieren, Beyond Journey's End.
Your obsession.
Yep, I'm obsessed with that. And they did the first season of One Punch Man, so very notable. This is something that we'll be talking a lot within this, like going into the origins of some of the animation that we really love, the connections between that, and it's just so amazing to watch this film and then think back knowing now who it was, what they've done. Like, I would have loved to I need to look more into this type of stuff before we watch these films because it gives you such a fun frame.
Yeah, well, you can see the different touches that every artist can have on a production. So I think we see it very obviously, or more obviously, in like Disney,
Mm-hmm.
like especially old Disney, back when they were still doing their 2D animation. They had like the same animators kind of working on multiple films. Like, for example, I forget his name, but he animated a lot of like the bear characters. So like it was the guy in the Sword in the Stone with the big belly, the king. He also did a bunch of other characters, and just by looking at them, you can tell they were made by the exact same animator in multiple Disney movies. And I think you can kind of see that in a lot of media still when you have reoccurring artists on the same thing. So like, for example, the same kind of music composer, you can really hear the similarities between all of the different things that they make. And so it's just really cool to kind of see that carry over to everything. Even if it's a completely different genre, you can still see those touches of the individual artists in them.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I tried to look up the animator, could not find it.
I'm going to have to find it at some point, but...
Well, see, and this is the beauty of an auto medium too. Next time we can find it. Next time, hey, update.
There you go.
This is who we were talking about this. Yep, exactly. But no, yeah, very much that. And two, I would say between some of the things that we've talked about, this animation studio seems to have a great concept of depth. Mm-hmm. Especially in the color and lighting within the color that they're bringing into certain scenes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we will get into that for sure.
Yes.
Okay. So with that, I did want to go into our sad girl rating.
Sad girl.
Yeah, sad girl rating. So we have a little tier list here. Literally tears, as in like crying tears, T-E-A-R. So if we rate it a 0, that's kind of like dry eyes. No tears. Mm-hmm. And then 1 through 4 are just tears. So like 1 tear, 2 tears, 3 tears, and 4 tears. And then 5 is a tissue box.
Yes.
You're going to need the whole thing.
Yes.
So for Perfect Blue, I gave it a 2 tears rating. Not because it wasn't really sad, but it was incredibly relatable in a lot of different aspects, which we'll get into, and very, very thought-provoking and just kind of unsettling. They did a very good job on this film in a lot of different ways. But yeah, just like not very sad, but definitely very deep, you know? It's kind of intense. Yeah. And what about you? What would you rate it, Kiki?
I shouldn't have swallowed right as you were about to ask me. That probably would on my...
I waited.
I kind of want to keep that on, though, if that did.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry, just a quick. It is starting to be winter where we are, and it's very, very dry.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. So, I was in Japan recently. Yeah. Just got back, like, 2 weeks ago. Fantastic. But the humidity there, I loved it. So, it is November right now, end of November. Mm-hmm. So, we went in beginning of November. So, it wasn't as hot and humid as it was in the summer. So, the humidity was just, like, perfect while we were there. My skin loved it. So I have like reoccurring eczema that comes up, and we're in a very dry climate here. Mm-hmm. But in Japan, it was so perfect. My skin was glowing. As soon as I come back, I start breaking out in rashes again, and my skin cracked, and I'm just like, oh, why? So I do miss the humidity.
Yeah, I would do. And just... You miss seeing Japan?
Oh, in general. Well. I want to go back. I didn't want to come back because I was over there during the when the election results came through.
It's 2024, y'all.
All my friends are texting me like, just stay there. Don't come home. Don't bother.
I was one of those friends.
Look, wish I could have, but Japan's a little strict about their immigration laws. They are becoming more lenient. They recently came out with a digital nomad visa, which allows you to live and work in Japan for up to 6 months, as long as you can provide proof that you have some kind of work from home remote job, then they allow you to live there. The weird thing, though, is that they don't let you renew it. I know. It's
So
like
then
kind of
what
weird.
do you do?
What's the point? I mean,
what do you do
it is
after?
digital nomad, and nomad is about like, moving around a bunch. But still, like 6 months is such a short amount of time. Like that flies by. Who's gonna want to pick up and go to Japan just for 6 months and then have to go somewhere else? Not very many people.
Yeah.
Like some people definitely have that lifestyle, but very few people. But I hear that they're opening more and more visas to try and encourage tourism, or not tourism, they have plenty of that already, but to encourage immigration and facilitate it a little bit more, just to kind of help with their dropping population, at least young population.
Yeah. That seems to be in a lot of the world right now.
Yeah, it seems to be a common trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking more about that, but yeah, we won't say where we are in the States. And honestly, with the movie that we're talking about right now, that should clue in why we don't want to use our names or tell you where we are. Because now, Kaneki, if you want to go into sort of the beginning, oh no, I need to rate it first.
Yeah, you need to rate it first. I got distracted, so my bad.
Well, my throat got dry.
Oh, that's true.
And speaking of which, so visually watching this movie, in the sense of, okay, we're going to talk about tears, it is a dry eye for me. However, it is a 3-tier in my heart and soul.
That's a good way of putting it.
Just being female presenting, growing up that way, watching this movie, there's going to be some things that you're going to relate to more than likely, especially in regards to not even just the male gaze, but the societal gaze on you, especially going from girl into woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect segue into the very first scene of the movie, so the main character, her name is Mima. First scene opening is she's just singing on a stage with her 2 fellow cohorts, and their idol group is called CHAM, and they're just kind of singing on the stage, having a fun time, and then these 2 guys, a group of young men, started having some issues with them and started trying to throw some things. There was an altercation, and then Mima eventually gives off the announcement like, hey, I'm actually going to be leaving this idol group. This is my last song with them. And then she leaves the idol group to pursue her acting career more seriously. And that's just kind of how the movie starts.
And looking up to kind of set the scene as well. So it's a smaller stage. There are still a decent amount of people there, obviously.
Yeah, they're not a huge idol group by any means.
Yeah, but they're a well enough followed idol group. There's obviously people that have been there since the beginning, watching them, experiencing them. And to play into that girl going to woman, the outfits that they're wearing, I want to get into a little bit. They are more of a shorter kind of thigh-high little white dress with a pink trim, and almost like it's not quite a pink ribbon against the waist of it, but it's just another kind of tuffly trim, like it's just very, and then thigh-high socks. So it definitely goes into that cutesy,
definite feels a lot more very girly.
Yeah, of the Lolita look almost.
I wouldn't call it Lolita, but I'm a big buff into like subculture things, so, especially fashion. So I'm a little like nitpicky about it.
No, that's fair. And see, this is what we need. We need be like, no, don't go into Kiki's vision. We don't quite see. And this is the nice thing about having someone else like, I put an idea. Actually, no, but that just again, it's more. It definitely has the feel of more kind of like young, almost ballerina type of look.
Very youthful.
Very youthful. That's a great way to put it for sure. At the same time, just the shorter having to be also more of an appealing thing because you're an idol, you are performative. there are people looking at your body in that regard too.
Yeah.
So not to get too deep into that, but it's you do see that in the design of them.
I think it also could just be kind of a cultural thing, because in Japan it is a lot more acceptable to wear really short skirts or to kind of show as much leg as you want, but not really as accepted to show anything up above. It's like, while I was there, I saw a lot of leg everywhere, even though it was like starting to get a little bit colder. And everyone always had like a higher neck on their clothing. Like I never once saw any cleavage or anything like that the entire time I was in Japan. Granted, not that I was there very long. I was only there for about 2 weeks, but it definitely was not a common thing. Like, I think it might just be a cultural thing for the skirts to be that short. I don't know. That's just my take on it, though.
That would definitely be a good thing to look into. And see, take legs, because it's something that shouldn't be as appealing as we have it here in the States.
Yeah.
It should just be normal. It's someone's legs.
Yeah. It's just the leg.
Just the legs. But anywho, yes. Just going into that, that's where we start. There's an altercation that happens, but then it's mediated by Mima very well. Two wanting to talk about, hey, this is what's happening. I'm not going to be doing this anymore, so I want us all to have a good time.
Yep. And then they do their last little song, and she just kind of moves on, and then she has to start pursuing her acting more seriously, and that was her whole thing. It's like, no, I have to quit in order to go all into this other thing that I want to do, which I think there's something to be said about that, of just the expectation of having to be all in on something and not being allowed to have space for other things in your life. And I think it's kind of more of like a corporate expectation with a lot of jobs, especially in Japan, where their work-life culture is just not very balanced at all, at least for the corporate side of Japan, where she had to leave this thing that she loves so much. And throughout the movie, you see that she did really love this time in her life. Her whole life, she wanted to be a singer. And then she was a singer, and then she just kind of gives that up, and the whole movie, that kind of haunts her for the whole thing.
Oh, no, definitely.
So, I don't know. I think there's just something to be said about having to give up a passion to pursue something else, and you can't even indulge that other passion at all. Seems a little, that opening scene of Mima, and then her just kind of deciding to pursue her acting more seriously. And CHAM kind of continuing on without her, because her two friends in that idol group kind of stayed together and continued in their idol group stuff.
Yes. Yeah, so we're seeing both, okay, Mima is going into a whole new realm. Friends, her idol, like, they are still staying in that, and that definitely plays very interestingly. That is a very interesting thing at play here as we go further along into the film, due to some of the events that happen afterwards.
Right.
Which I don't think it's giving too much away to say that it does turn out where the group starts to do better without her.
Yeah. Later in the film, they have some scenes where they show the other group having billboards and like big advertisements. And then her just hearing from them herself that they are doing really well, because she still works with the same manager, which was interesting, is that he kind of took her out of the idol and then into acting, but still stayed with him, same manager. But he was still working with the CHAM group. So she was able to stay in the exact same building that CHAM was in for all of her like appointments and things with her managers. And so she was able to very closely see everything still continuing on without her, which that was interesting.
Yeah.
Like it's the film goes a lot into regrets of her past, of what could have been. And I'm sure, oh my gosh, just thinking about that would suck so much to be in this like group. You have all your passion in this thing. Like, she always wanted to be a singer her whole life. Finally, as a singer, the group does, not too bad. Nothing great, though. The moment she leaves, they hit it big. Yeah. They start, getting way more fans, way more popular.
I think it's like they make it to the top 100 hits.
Yeah.
And that's what, oh my gosh.
that would be so crushing. Be like, wow, I put so much into this group, and the moment I leave, now they're doing great.
Yeah.
That wouldn't feel too great.
That would not feel great. That would feel terrible.
I would be very sad.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, it was me.
Yeah, no, I would immediately go into the immediate self-blame,
Yeah.
like, oh, I was the problem, I wasn't good enough, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
You know, it's a sad girl thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Those that can relate can relate.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, anyways, we can go on. I have like a little timeline here written out because we're trying to kind of keep it a little structured without going all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
So next thing I have here is Mima kind of starts in a TV show. Her first like bigger acting role is her starting in this TV show about a detective pursuing a serial killer. And this detective is working with like a doctor, a psychologist there, which is a big name actress in their world here in Japan.
Yeah, I would imagine kind of like a Dana Scully-esque type.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, at least what's being presented to us, except without the aliens.
Yeah, right.
So Law and Order.
Subtracting that part.
Maybe Law and Order.
I would say, I would say very similar to that. That's kind of the vibe this TV show is kind of giving. And this show is about a serial killer. And there's a lot of parallels with this TV show and the movie. A lot of things in the show you kind of see reflected back in the movie as you go along. But it did a very good job of not spoiling anything throughout. It kind of made it more intense and more spooky.
Yes.
You know, throughout the movie without giving the ending away or anything.
Yeah, it does a really good job of confusing you of the timeline of what is happening, what has happened, what may happen. We don't know. It's a lot of just splicing. There's a certain point, and my understanding is this first role is that Mima is just playing a side character that's probably not even going to come up in the show afterwards. It sounds like she is the sister of a victim.
Right,
of
or
this
some
murderer.
kind of family member of a victim in the show.
So that's another fascinating course play in this is that she gets this one role. And her manager does voice some concern. Hey, like, we thought that you're going to have her on more. This is just one line type of thing. And I feel like that is the point where things really step off, actually. And that's when we start to, you kind of have this timeline of, okay, Mima, she's in the pop group. She leaves. They're doing better without her. She's getting into acting. Mima is now doing this role for the first time. This is her first in front of camera for an actual TV series. And in that moment, in the circumstances with what's going on there, that's when everything really starts to sever.
Yeah.
And you no longer have quite a consistent timeline. There are, of course, things that lead up into a lot of the breaking of it, but I think this is our pivotal point.
Yeah, it's her just starting that TV show. Yeah, and then I think it was in this time where she gets that letter with the bomb in it.
Yes.
And that was very pivotal because it was fan mail addressed to her. But of course she didn't open it. It was her, who was it, her manager?
I think it was her manager that opened it.
Manager, and he severely injured his hand. So he was okay. He just had to go to the hospital for a little bit. But he was fine. We see him in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But that would be such a jarring experience. And I did also want to talk a little bit about the expectations that the public has for people in the celebrity sphere.
Yeah.
How your life is kind of treated as no longer yours. Like, your life is on display for everyone. Like, your address, what you do, where you're working, everything. So people could send, like, a threatening letter to you with a bomb in it. Of course, now they have, like, security measures and things like that where they don't themselves open fan mail. It's someone else doing that for them. But back then, that wasn't such a needed thing.
No, and there's whole other stories we can go into of like stalking laws, things that have happened to people, but we don't need to. You probably already know some of the stories that have happened along there. And that does, I think, segue perfectly into kind of what our next big thing post this first scene is happening. We have this major event happen. And then along the way of progressing in the story, Mima finds out about a fan site for herself called Mima's Room.
Right. And it was interesting though that she didn't have any computer at all.
Yeah.
In her little room. Yeah, she had to get her. What was her? Is it her co-manager?
Yeah, but like her manager's assistant almost. Something like a secondary manager of sorts.
Yeah. What was her name?
Oh, that is a great question. Rumi.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rumi was the one that helped her get a computer and get it all set up and everything. And Mima had never used a computer before.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of fun to see like a little time capsule kind of into that time.
So, and not that, again, we like want to keep information limited.
Right.
But you were born more in the early 2000s, right?
I was, yes.
Okay, yeah. So I was born mid-90s, and we grew up more lower middle class.
Right.
So a lot of the technology, even though I was early 2000s, was actually more that late 90s. So she has this big beige computer. It's the computer and the monitor.
Right,
which I think some people just would not be fully aware of what that would look like anymore because it's so new in technology how it looks, but just these big blocky tan.
Oh, the giant like bricks of. I remember growing up with one of those.
Yeah. So it's just like, unless you had experienced it, it's so strange to see this technology, but also strange to see and like, oh my gosh, I remember that.
Yeah.
And then also dial up, so we see a bit of that and like the loading time on the screen.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just had to get a little bit into that, but it's just like it really invokes that memory of like your first computer, and the power button was not sleek, like it was huge on there. And like you can see that on this computer, but again, like time capsule, not everyone was on the internet. Like it was so new. It's just, she hears about this fan site. What is this? You go out, get a computer, and that's how you find out. And even then you're not finding out right away. Like you have to get connected to your internet. You have to know how to get to the website and everything.
Which was very what's the word? Analog.
Yeah.
Which was also fun to see because I love that. It's such a vibe, honestly.
Yeah,
I love it. And interestingly enough, a lot of websites in Japan are still kind of that way. Like when I was booking appointments for stuff to do over there, like different beauty things, I got like a head spa and lashes done. It was so fun. But the websites were just like, it's just still very old and kind of hard to navigate if you don't know what you're doing. But it was just kind of fun to see that things are still very similar in a lot of places over there.
No, it again, just like the different formatting of how it still looks in some places versus what we're used to. I guess this is dumb to me kind of get into, but just the factor of, you couldn't just get onto your phone or your laptop really quick to look this up. Like you literally had to either go to an internet cafe, a library, or you had to buy a whole computer.
Which was expensive.
Get everything set up for that. Which I don't know how. Do you remember dial-up? No,
I was just after dial-up, actually.
Yeah. You had a modem. You had like the one with the little antenna.
Yep.
Yeah. Which some do still come like that, but that is really phasing out now. So you didn't. I'm not going to imitate the noise as much as I want to, just because it's way too annoying and jarring. I'm not going to do that to everyone.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the internet that we're talking about. It takes forever to load. And Mima discovers Mima's room. Well, Mima, again, she discovers it. It's not written by her, but it is very detailedly written about her.
It's like written in first person as if it is her. So like, oh, today I went to the grocery store and I bought XYZ. And as she's reading it, she's kind of like, oh, this is so cute and fun. You know, someone just really loves what I do, and they're just writing this cute little fake journal about me. And that's kind of how it's presented, is it's like blog entries.
Yeah.
On there.
She thinks it's a fan site, but then she's reading, and she's like, oh.
Like, that's so weird.
Interesting. Yeah, like, oh, this is, yeah, like you said, this is cute. Like,
yeah,
someone really knows me. Oh, she's talking about, this is going to be verbatim, of course. But I got off of this line, putting out my left foot first, as not to trip over the gap. It's something along that line. And she's like, wow, someone really knows me, because it's a mannerism of hers.
Yeah,
But that is not good for someone just to be writing that about you online.
Yeah.
That she very soon finds out.
Yeah.
As she further goes in and is like, oh no, my day is detailed. This is talking about me feeding my fish in my room.
Right.
In my apartment.
Who's gonna know that? You know? And that's the very first kind of like, oh my God, something's really wrong here. I mean, besides like the bomb threat. But, I mean, kind of dumb of me to say, but, like, a lot of people get bomb threats, you know? It's not like a super...
We're in the States.
We're in the States, everybody, so, like, bomb threats are quite common here, but... oh my gosh, I remember getting bomb threats all the time at my school growing up.
Never.
Really?
Gosh, that is...
Oh my gosh. Mine would get them all the time. It was, you know, what's weird is because I was in California for a time, never got them there. I was here when I was really little, and then we went to California, and then it was when we came back from California. My parents were a little bit better off financially, so I was able to go to charter schools for all of elementary. We would get bomb threats, like, all of the time.
That is so weird.
Isn't that bizarre?
Did they ever find out who it was?
No. Yeah, and every time we would get a bomb threat, it was like, well, we had to go on lockdown and everything, or they would just tell us don't come to school today, because sometimes it would be before school would even start. It was really strange.
Gosh.
It got to the point where it was just common, where it's just like, oh, okay, another bomb threat, guess we'll just stay home today. I'm fine with that. I didn't like school.
Yeah. This is America.
This is America, guys.
Oh, yeah, just children. You can't expect them to go to school safely.
Apparently not. And just to become so desensitized to that, too. Just kind of like, oh, another bomb threat, another day. That's fine.
Segue into, then Mima lives something that most people who are female presenting growing up and girl into woman experience, which is gaslighting of what you find or think is a dangerous situation, or your instinct kicking in.
Yeah.
Your intuition saying, I don't feel good about this. Bringing up the bomb threat, bringing up the website. She keeps on bringing this up to people around her, and they keep on dismissing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being like, it's fine, we'll take these precautions. It's probably nothing.
Yeah.
So
and she just kind of had to push that instinct away of like, okay, well, I guess it's okay if this manager knows he's in this industry, right? So he should know what he's talking about. It probably is nothing.
Yeah.
But just has that nagging still in the back of her mind, like, no, something's wrong here. And
this is definitely then where, after the tonal shift of the film, like the pivoting into, okay, what, who, where, why, what's even happening, this is when we really get into, Mima has no idea what's happening. It starts to go into this really deep form of psychological torture. Of, nope, all of this is fine, these things are happening, like, this is just a part of the industry. Why are things increasingly getting worse and worse then for me?
Right, yeah.
Why am I losing my grasp of reality while these violent situations, which it does get more violent in this
progressively
movie, and progressively
she has to
more
take
violent.
On worse and worse roles. Like, she has to do a rape scene for some thing that she does. I think it was the same TV show.
Yeah, so, and this goes into kind of as we were talking about before, the manager does get into a beef with the producers and writer of this TV show, saying, hey, we expected her to have more lines. Like, this isn't quite what we discussed. She plays as the victim's sister, and then the victim, who she is the sibling of, I believe, in this show, they create a underlying story for her at a certain point after some of this conflict. And again, that's kind of what's beautiful of it, is you really have to look, see, and listen to what's happening here, or else you will. It feels so random. But the rape scene that she's having to take on and is part of this role, of course, it's written in for her in order to give some relevance, which is really messed up when you think about it, because the point of that scene being written in is, okay, well, if we're going to introduce this character, we need to have some type of relevant story that's going to go further into her story.
Right.
And this is what we see as the starting point of it. And then, not to spoil, we only really get into some few scenes, because again, it's so confusing to her what's going on.
Right.
And then what is the end for her in regards to just her life while working on this show as well, too. Sorry, I did go a little bit tangent there, and I've kind of lost what I was trying to fully get into.
That happens.
Yeah. But again, taking on increasingly worse roles, having expectations of her of what she's going to do in this role, in these roles, and then, she does take on having to do a rape scene.
Yeah. And that brought up a lot of conflict within her. I think this is when we started to see Mima's alternate self, which is her idol self. She starts seeing this image of herself in like reflections or in the corner of her eye, and it's her old self as she was an idol in her idol outfit. And it's just to me, it just felt like it was kind of representative of that inner conflict of wanting to hold on to that innocence that she had before, and then having to step into this new, very adult world. Because she started, she did the rape scene, she did nude photos at one point.
Yes, as a part of her debut into the acting world.
Which that's a whole other thing of just the expectations people have once you become an actress in, stepping into that sphere of, well, your life is no longer yours. Your body's no longer yours. Like, you are expected to give.
Your most intimate moments are for other people to experience.
Exactly.
That is very much kind of a role and expectation that we very unfairly put onto people. And it's just, it's kind of strange that we do that to these people that we don't even know. We idolize and we put them on the highest pedestal. And we see this with Mima very much too, because something that especially happens in celebrity culture, we idolize these people, we put them on the highest pedestal, and then when they do something that we don't like, we feel is unsavory, or we don't feel is the proper representation of them, they get knocked down quite a few pegs, and people that get incredibly upset with the individual, and they don't even know the individual doesn't even know that they exist, or so maybe they think, but the person that is experiencing the upset feels that that idol owes something to them. That celebrity owes something to them.
They take it very personally.
Yeah.
And
so we very much see this.
Yeah. Especially after the photos. You see, I think it was a scene about a crowd just kind of talking about like the magazine coming out with her photos. And just talking about like, oh, wasn't she an ex-Idol girl? Wow, great fall from Idol, because there is a very big expectation for idols to have this very squeaky clean image, very innocent, and they still have this today where, like, if you're in an idol group, you're not really allowed to have a significant other. Or if you do, you have to keep it very, very hush-hush. Because the fans have to be able to imagine themselves having a chance with you. Or else you won't do as well in this realm of
Which
fame.
is just...
It's so ridiculous.
That's really wild. Like, in order to hit a certain pivotal fame, which is really fed to us as a type of dream, I don't think a lot of people, if they actually sat through it, and looked at the pros and cons would probably do a lot of that type of work. Not to say for sure. I mean, I'm really projecting there to be quite fair, so I shouldn't be so strong-willed in how I say that. It just, you know what I mean? I'm sure it's something that's not quite thought about, of how much of your life you're going to be giving up in order to pursue this dream. And of course, everyone's big goal, financial stability.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting in that regard. And also, like, her almost taking ownership of that. Like, no, I don't quite want to do that. I want to go into this other realm, but it is very obviously not working out for her.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, again, like, making the choice to go from idol to actor, having a fall, quote unquote, if you will, from grace, from idolism, but also thinking, okay, I have that control. But it's very obvious at this point that Mima does not have control of anything or over her life.
Or her reality.
Yeah.
She starts, from that point, you start, like you mentioned earlier, the timeline starts getting a little wonky, because she starts having a lot of dissociative episodes where she doesn't really see what is reality, what actually has happened, what hasn't happened. And us as the viewer, it's very disorienting just to kind of figure out, like, wait, did that really happen? Was that a dream?
Yeah.
Wait, but there's evidence, and but there's no way she did that.
Yeah.
What? You know, just kind of as you're watching along, she increasingly just loses grip on reality.
Yeah, and in just so many ways, too.
Oh, yeah.
Loses grip just on every sense that she possesses. In that regard, too. And you have scenes that sort of repeat. It's meant to make you very confused, which is something that I love in film media in general, is something that this film did really well, too. If you are meant to invoke an emotion or a feeling out of me, which for this, it is definitely unease, uncomfortability. It's supposed to put you more at, like, edge of the seat for you. Like, this is not meant to be a leisurely film for you to watch. Like, this
is
a short
watch, but it's not an easy watch.
It is meant to put you on edge. And I love that. I love it when a film that they want to make me uncomfortable.
Yes.
I love if it's like, okay, my goal is to make the viewer uncomfortable, and it does that. Great for me. And this does this very well. Just
very well.
Again, in the visuals that you get in the between reality, fiction, what is happening, what's in my head versus, wait, did I actually experience this? And Mima having breakdowns in that regard too.
Right.
At certain points with some of the other characters asking, is this real? And there's a point where she does cut herself, and she's like, is this real? Not purposefully. It's an accidental cutting.
She like broke a teacup.
Yeah, she broke a teacup, in her hands, and is asking, is this real?
Like, is this actually happening? You know, and that's something else. So I heavily relate to that, because I have a dissociative disorder. And the movie I think it hit me a lot more just because I relate to that so heavily, of the non-reality of things. Because, like, when I'm really bad into an episode, you definitely can be injured, and you're just kind of looking at it. It's like you're in the backseat of a car, just kind of watching your life happen in front of you. And then also just kind of having times where you kind of wake up and you're doing something you don't even remember doing. And that happened throughout the movie, where Mima would just kind of come to somewhere, and she's like, wait, what's happening right now? What's going on? They did a fantastic job of really accurately portraying what it's like to lose your grip on reality. Just to kind of, wait, was that a dream? Wait, what just happened? 3 hours just disappeared. What is going on? And it is very unsettling just to kind of come to somewhere and you don't even know what you're doing or what happened the past day. Like, Mima had a lot of time blackouts where she lost time and she has no idea what happened during that time, and that's definitely happened for me.
Gosh, so I can only imagine.
It's terrifying. Yeah. Sometimes it's just like, okay, I guess I just lost a day in my life, don't know what happened. I hope I wasn't doing something crazy. But then other times it is very scary, because it's like, well, I don't remember what I was doing. I don't, or maybe I'll come to in the middle of doing something and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? It is very jarring and scary sometimes. And they did a really wonderful job of like kind of portraying that with music, the animation, the script. I think they just did a fantastic job in general of really conveying that just unsettled, unsteady feeling that you have when you're kind of having that kind of an episode.
No, again, could only imagine. Definitely. Even though there is something instinctual that is telling you this isn't real, you're experiencing it and then it is real. And it's like you're almost snapping back from this isn't real forward into this is real.
Yeah.
And that's something that this film does very well. Sorry, not trying to say what your experience is.
No, but I would say that's very accurate.
Like, this is what we're going into. And part of that, too, of course, we've been talking pretty vaguely about this. This movie has a great amount of twist and turn. If you can see what's coming, great for you.
I definitely didn't.
I did not either.
And normally I'm very, very good at predicting plot lines. I'm normally able to predict a whole movie within the first, 20, 30 minutes of watching it. This one, I thought I had a good idea of what was going on, and then the end just completely took me by surprise.
Yeah, and that's why, like, this is one that get it, watch it if you have been thinking about it, if this is something you want to do, because we don't want to spoil it, because it is a real treat in order to fully experience this ending.
Yes.
This whole film, just not quite knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of it, too. So again, we're speaking more vaguely of it, but I do want to go into detail about one particular scene, more so the imagery of it, where we do, of course, we're kind of like in the script of this animated movie. We have this idol go actress. She's starting to act more in this like criminal, almost Law and Order-esque show. So in a part of that, of course, there's going to be aspects of murder and violence coming through in this.
Right.
And there is a scene where we do have a break-in to what seems to be kind of like a loft apartment area.
Oh,
fancy.
That's right. It was the photographer.
Yep. So it's the photographer. So we had this break-in scene into kind of his apartment loft. Like, this is meant to look fancy. It's like glass door. So that's...
Money.
Exactly. and that's part of it, too, is you... Again, Madhouse is beautiful in regards to giving so much visualization and pop using such dark tones and hues and colors. And this does it perfectly. When we got done watching this movie, I described that particular scene. It is so brutal. I described that particular scene as being so brutal, but so beautiful.
Yes.
Just as you see the shimmer of this glass breaking and the contrast, there's a lot of blues going into some bright neon greens as showing as kind of trying to get a line in order to resolve the situation that this photographer is in this moment of violence, but it doesn't happen, and everything goes more into dark blues, reds. Again, it's very disorienting what's happening. And then we go back into what is Mima's reality, non-reality,
right,
in what we've just witnessed.
And that plays a lot more into her experience of reality, non-reality, because she then finds bloody clothing in her closet later. And she's like, wait, did I do that?
Yeah, and this is, of course, the next day she finds out about the photographer getting murdered. And again, in her reality, as we were talking about earlier, she is increasingly having these terrible events happening around her and having people try to tell her it's okay. Okay, this is when people start to get a little bit more serious.
Right.
There is obviously a very violent murder that happened.
Yeah, well, the first one, I remember them treating it kind of like, oh, it was nothing connected to you. And it wasn't until later in the film when they finally started to be like, okay, something's wrong here.
Something is amiss. Something is going on.
Maybe you're not crazy. Maybe you're not just some little girl who doesn't know anything about acting or whatever. Yeah. Maybe you actually know what you're talking about.
Maybe you're a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does speak so much to, again, just like when you are someone that is presenting female, that's how you're living in the world. It does talk a lot to that experience.
Oh, absolutely.
And just, you constantly are kind of being told, you don't know what you're doing. Like, step aside, let me do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even think about it. I mean, some of us are privileged enough in order to be raised in more critical thinking households.
Mm-hmm.
But especially when you're from certain areas, and again, we are in the States, so just something to bring up, like, prominently Christian just all around, and there's a lot of subsections of Christianity throughout the States that I am just going to say it, they do borderline into religious fringe groups. They borderline into religious fringe groups and cult-esque type of groups.
Yeah.
So when you have so much of that surrounding you, you just kind of can't escape it in certain areas of the U.S. I mean, bigger cities, of course, you can, but if you're in suburbs or urban areas, which is a majority of what a lot of people have experienced, it's, you're gonna hear a lot of that. You're gonna hear a lot of, you don't know what you're doing. Like, just step aside. We'll take care of everything for you. Things of that nature. And you have a very narrow role and expectation of what you're going to do. And for women, it's usually pretty or homemaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely grew up in a very deeply religious context where my role was determined for me from the moment I was born. So I was born in this religion where your role, your whole goal in life is to grow up, stay pure, more than anything, get married, have lots and lots and lots of children. As many children as God will give you. And that is, not it wasn't quiverful, but it is along those lines. The religion I was born in is known for having many children. Yes. But it is very much growing up. I was always kind of cast, my opinion wasn't ever taken seriously on things. But a boy my same age, oh yeah, he can contribute and have these ideas and things. The women in the religion that I grew up in are not given any power. Women can preside over other women. They're not ever allowed to preside over a man. It's always men that are in power in this particular religion. The women don't have any kind of say in anything over anything to do with men, or even if it's just like the congregation in general. And you do get told a lot of, well, you don't know what you're talking about with this. Well, we'll just step aside. Let us take care of this because we have this magical power that God gave us. Because we are men, so it makes us better than yours. They never said it that way, but they very much is that undertone.
We are endowed by God himself.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm sorry, that was a bit much.
No, seriously. Oh my gosh, they're so stuck up about it too.
I like to have these cultural, like, our experiences versus how we relate to... Oh.
What was that?
I think something on the computer.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if we're maybe getting to a certain point. It might have just been a notification-esque thing on the computer. Okay, but we're still good. Recording. We're still good.
Oh, that would suck if we come in and then it's like, oh, we haven't
gone.
recorded in the past 10 minutes.
But yeah, anyway, go back into that. Cultural significance, understanding. So this is something too of, with our concept of sad girls in anime, that I do really want to go into is cultural context in what we're watching and our cultural context into what we're watching. And the thing I like about animation specifically is you can project yourself more on the character. It's not a face. Yes, there is a face there, but it's not fully structured. It's not someone you know. It's not so-and-so from this TV show or movie. You can really project yourself onto this person and relate to them more because there's almost a step away. There's a separation to it. So something that I appreciated, and again, like the culture and context too, and something you were talking about as well is the whole purity. Like, you exist to be pure.
Yeah.
And the nude photo scene and those coming out and people's reaction to that too in the film really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Because again, we're in the States, as we're kind of talking about, we're in sort of a subsect of Christianity type of area. Two, it's just very, like, yeah, women are meant to have a certain role. And something I really relate to Mima in this regard too is growing up and looking different from other girls and women. Part of that, just to be frank, we're in a very white area. For a long time, there just weren't a lot of people of color. And again, like, we're in the States. That should relate to a lot of people in the States, depending on where you're from.
True.
In your cultural background. But I'm more mixed. I have darker features, but lighter skin. So I was at a very young age, and as much as I could correspond with puberty, which for me happened earlier, I was more around 12 when puberty really hit me, which I know it's different for everyone. More like 10 to 12. That was more my puberty age, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And since I got breast pretty early on, like I was one of the girls that had them before the others, ever since then, I knew that there was a gaze on me. And specifically, too, again, we're in a predominantly white area, middle-aged men. I don't get it a lot now, luckily.
Thank goodness.
I'm almost an old hag.
I know.
I'm almost 30 and I'm supposed to disappear, and I cannot wait.
I can't wait to be old and used.
Exactly. Because here was my experience growing up, is especially like middle-aged men being like, oh, what are you?
Ew.
Not that tone, of course. It's more like, what are you? But you get what I mean. It's just like, you are something to be presented and looked at, and you are exotic. And two, where Mima, she does have the darker features, but lighter skin. I at least related to that a lot of like, oh yeah, you're going to be told throughout your life you are for the male gaze. And going from idol to actor, that just stepped it up a notch.
Yeah.
Because people are going to expect your whole body and being from you. In that regard too. So it just, that really resonated with me. I felt that to such an intense level of like, yep, this is what is expected of you. In that regard, like, you should be able just to present yourself fully and nude, and you're just, you're getting out into the world, but that's not the situation. That's what's kind of being told, the narration around Mima's situation. The situation is, this is the most direct and like biggest publicity that you can get for yourself right now as an up-and-coming actor. You're working with this photographer that's infamous for doing these nude photos. Henceforth, you're going to do that now to get your career started. And just, again, going into my experience is, that was a lot of the rhetoric fed is, you are not going to be able to experience much of life until you procure either a partnership or your status and or career based off of what your body can provide to someone else. Maybe I went a little bit too far along the route to get where I was trying to say, but I hope that that does resonate. That, yeah, it really sucks when you feel like that, but that is a very common experience too.
I would say so.
Yeah, just, and that's very much what I feel, again, really resonated, just being gawked at for other people's entertainment, and that is your placement in the world.
Yeah.
And where you rate in that, and how many people you can get to do that for you, that's what your worth is going to be.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently. Apparently. But yeah, anyway. And it's just some real sad girl stuff.
Yeah.
This is part of what makes at least me sad, is
yeah, absolutely,
growing up in a world where that's like a lot of your worth is based off of that, is not only like what your body can do, but how does your body look too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this movie definitely goes a lot into that. Just that transition of girlhood innocence to being forced into a very adult world. And how jarring it is for her. And you can see how much it is tearing her up inside throughout the movie because she's seeing that alternate self dressed as her idol past self. And this idol image of herself is kind of mocking her the whole movie. Kind of saying like, oh, now you're, what was the wording she used? She basically was calling her a slut, you know?
Yeah.
And saying like, oh, look, you're just...
You've tarnished your reputation. It's something along that lines. Like,
yeah, like, oh, no one's going to want you now. And things along those lines. And I think it's just kind of her own internal conflict of, you know, because she was an idol. She did think those things about other girls because you see her cohort, the CHAM group. Later we see a scene of them talking to each other about how like, oh, now Mima's gone and doing these nude photos. Of course she would. And now she's not innocent anymore or whatever. And I'm sure Mima used to be kind of the same way because she was in that sphere. And so now, of course, that kind of mentality is going to haunt her.
Yeah.
Now that she's stepping into this very adult world of, you know, having to take nude photos, doing a rape scene, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, okay, Mima, if you are really wanting to procure this role and us to work with these producers, writers of this TV show in order to make sure you get more screen time, you are going to have to put your full self out there. That's the exchange that she has to and will choose in this scenario.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, what was her name? Rumi tried to give her an out. Like, no, I will talk to them. I will tell them no, that we will not do this. She even had a little bit of a fight with the manager, Rumi did, about that. Like, no, we're not going to put our girl through this. We're not going to make her do something like that. And the manager was very firm on, do you want her to do well in this world? Do you want her to continue this acting and stardom and everything and get everything she wants? Then she has to do this. And Mima herself said, no, Rumi, it's okay. I'm going to do this. I am going to choose this.
No, yeah, and it is that internal conflict too, but I think that also shows too when you have to start to make that decision to grow up and the difficulty of that. And again, as you were talking about the regrets that she's feeling, the regrets that Mima is feeling throughout having to start to give up again idolism, it does seem more so like, okay, you have to give up your childhood in order to go into adulthood. When do you choose to do that?
Right.
Too. So I do love how you bring that up as a point of kind of, okay, this is what's going on within this universe right now. And this is what's going on with Mima.
It does haunt you as well. Because, like, I also grew up having a very different mentality than what I do now. You know, because I grew up incredibly religious, very, very conservative, very naive. And I had that mentality of, like, oh, women who sleep around are less than, they're worthless, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I grew up with that mentality. And then now, how I live my life now, I still have those kind of things in the back of my head. Just like Mima seeing this alternative self, I hear those things in the back of my head of like, wow, you're really going to dress that way? What are they going to think about you? What are they going to say behind your back? Things like that along those lines. And it does haunt you. Having that old self, it used to be you. You used to feel and think and act that way. And then being a completely different person now, but still, you know, having that voice in the back of your head. It's very hard to break out of old mentalities and old habits.
No, yeah, and that is what we see with Mima. She's having the battle that both, yes, she has to go through, but is being forced upon her because of not only her voice, but all these other voices happening too. And again, like, yeah, that's you, and like you being brought up to have those thoughts. And again, I'm not trying to say your experience, but I imagine too there has to be a couple of church ladies' voices in there of things that have echoed through that you've heard them say about like someone's hem being a little short, or they're looking a little messy today, or a little tired.
Absolutely.
Oh, did you hear? Apparently she got caught with so-and-so son.
Oh my goodness.
That wasn't a very good church lady voice. I don't think I can hit that. The air is too dry right now. My throat is a little bit. I've been bad. I've been vaping a little bit out of stress.
Shame.
Yeah, can't do that.
No, but their voices honestly are very fake nice. Is like the thing. They talk in a very like spiritual kind of way, where they kind of try to make themselves seem very meek, very vulnerable, and I forget what the term for it is called, but there's like a specific term for women that talk in this kind of very different way. And oh my gosh, and everyone had that kind of a voice everywhere, and you grow up and you learn to imitate that because you have to assimilate into this group that you're forced in. Like you said earlier, you can't get away from it because it's everywhere around you. Mostly everyone around us is of this religion. It's everywhere you go, especially when you grow up in like the suburbs where like literally everyone is of that religion.
Okay, I might try another go. It's just, Connie, I am just getting really concerned about her. That girl of hers seems to be a real handful. I've been hearing some things from the other neighbor ladies. We should maybe check in. She looks a little tired.
Yeah, I'm really worried about her. The spirit was really just talking to me the other day, and I'm just so worried about that sweet, sweet girl,
Yeah. We don't want her getting unsavory or anything like that.
No, absolutely not.
No. We can't go too much farther. We'll go way too out of it. But no, it's just, again, you can see the duality of that very much so in the people that are being fake in describing and trying to mediate the situations versus those that are legitimately trying. But honestly, throughout this, there doesn't seem to be a lot of people on Mima's side, which is
she was kind of
sad.
On her own for most of the movie. And I think that could also be a bit of a cultural thing. From what I've seen in Japan, it is very you work on your own things. You do not burden other people with your problems. It is a very a we culture, more focused on, well, how are you impacting the people around you? You need to make yourself as convenient as possible to the world that is around you. And that very much could be why Mima wasn't really reaching out to anybody or really talking a lot about what was going on with her until we start seeing her having like more breakdowns, and she's like, oh, is this real? What's happening? I think something's wrong. She just doesn't really reach out to anybody about anything, really. And
I can feel that too. I have legitimately said to people, I'm like, oh, my greatest fear is to be an inconvenience. So I think the biggest thing that we just could continue to harp on forever, we just empathize, we feel Mima. Like, we don't get it because we're not an animated character in the throes of idolism and having a stalker situation and not knowing what our reality is or isn't.
Right.
There's a lot of cultural narratives to be had with a film like this.
Definitely.
For sure. And especially just, again, the female presenting experience.
Absolutely.
That being the big thing. But too, again, we don't want to spoil the ending or anything like that.
It is definitely an experience that should be experienced. Don't spoil it for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I didn't really watch anything about Perfect Blue.
Same.
Never watched like a synopsis video or breakdown or anything like that, because I knew it was like more of a thriller type movie. And a lot of thrillers are all about the suspense and not knowing what's going to happen. So I was like, okay, I didn't want to spoil that for myself. So definitely we didn't want to go too much into everything, and definitely not the ending, because it is very, very fun to watch and to experience the very first time of not knowing what's going to happen and how the ending wraps everything up and brings it all together. But
yeah. It's perfect. Other talking points that we may need to get into.
Oh, I think that was about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it kind of very quickly picks up at the end. We have the next murder of her manager that kind of happens.
May I have a break?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. It just hits me so hard when I have to pee.
Yeah, you're fine.
And I hate it. I'm sorry, it's the worst.
I should time it. See how, or get like a clicker.
Yeah.
And click how many times.
Okay. Here's the thing. We know my lesson. We've learned my lesson. Like, I literally, for road trips. Okay. Something was rubbing. That was weird. But for road trips, I cannot drink like, I can have a sip of water like every hour. And that's it. And so I'll be with other people and they're like, you don't want to get a drink from the gas station? Or like, is somebody need a drink from this little restaurant? I'm like, no. No.
Like, I will be your worst nightmare if I do.
Yeah, it just, again, I'm almost 30 old hag.
Yeah. I think I just have like I have a power bladder.
Yeah.
I like to say.
Yeah. I used to.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's because I grew up doing a lot of road trips.
Same.
And I didn't want to be an inconvenience to anyone, so it's like, well, I gotta hold it.
That's some real sad girl shit. Just
no,
like,
for real.
Your greatest fear is to be an inconvenience to others.
Real, well, I'll rapidly switch between like, well, fuck what everyone else thinks. I'm my own person. I'm gonna do what I want to do, my way. And then switch back to, oh no, I don't want to inconvenience them in the tiniest little way. And I'll switch back to, well, fuck them. And I'll just like rapidly switch between the two.
Yep. I hear that.
Yep. Also, I'm determined to never have to go to the bathroom on an airplane. So far, I have kept that determination, and I've done some long ass flights. Because like I said, I went to Japan. That didn't go to the bathroom once on the planes.
How?
I don't know. I tell you, I have a power bladder or something, because it was 7 hours to get to Hawaii, and then another 7 hours to get from Hawaii to Japan, or 7 or 8 hours, something like that. Didn't go to the bathroom once on either of those. On the way back, it was like an 11-hour flight to Minneapolis, and then another 4 hours to where we're at, and never once. Didn't go. I don't know why. I think I'm kind of terrified of having to go to the bathroom on the plane. I have this like vision in my head that as soon as I go to the bathroom and I'm sitting on the toilet, the plane's just gonna like get turbulence or just start going down. something horrible.
It's all because of you.
Yeah, it'll be because I chose to go to the bathroom and the plane's gonna have issues right then.
You just final destination yourself, but instead of getting away from it, you just go into it.
Yeah,
and it just,
exactly.
Yeah.
I just have that deep fear, and we, I don't know. We all have those unreasonable little fears.
Yeah. Fair.
That's mine.
We'll see if you ever have to get over it one of these days.
Yeah, because like I do love travel. I absolutely love traveling. And I've done a lot of travel. My most of my family's in Mexico. So we do try to travel there about once a year to visit everybody. Most of the time we drive, though. We don't really fly too often, which does make it a lot easier, at least bathroom-wise.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about having to hold it on a plane. We'll see how long I can keep that, though.
Yeah, we'll see. You might have to still your resolve one of these days and just
hold it.
Have to
tough it out.
Have to do it. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, there is an episodes of Bob's Burgers like that, but it's pooping in public bathrooms.
Oh yeah.
And that we don't need to go through the whole other animation thing. We've already talked about Perfect Blue quite a bit.
Yeah. But honestly, I don't have too much of an option in regards to public bathrooms because I'm an IBS girly. Got the upset stomach problem. So I don't know how I make it work on planes. Because, I don't know, maybe sheer determination?
Yeah, that could be it.
I don't know. But, I will say, while I was in Japan, no stomach problems.
Nice.
None. The one time I did was after I ate Wendy's there. Because, of course.
Yeah.
One time I eat American food, that is when my stomach is upset.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time I was there, not a single problem.
That is amazing.
And I've been living with IBS for years and years. Since I was a young teenager, I've been having stomach problems. Now I'm like, oh my God, I need to move here. if only to cure my stomach issues.
Yeah, it's like the food is that high of a quality that it just... Pure nutrition.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I wasn't watching my food or anything. I was eating just anything and everything while I was there. Because, you're on vacation. You want to try everything, This isn't the time to be on a diet or anything. So, of course, I was just eating everything. Never had a problem.
That is amazing.
It was fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The joy. But anyway, sorry to have taken us out, put us back in. Again, I'm sorry, y'all. I won't drink during the show. That's going to be the main thing. We have scheduled breaks in order for that. But yeah. Such a great movie. Any other points you want to cover on it?
Not that I can really think of. I think we kind of went over everything that I wanted to talk about with it.
Yeah.
Just, great movie, great watch, spooky, not scary, but very unsettling.
Yeah, very
unsettling.
I think would be the
best word for it.
Very thriller. There are points that are meant to make you feel super uncomfortable.
Yes,
and it does that well.
The murder scenes are very visceral without it being extremely gory. And I'm not a very big gore fan. I'm not a fan of body horror, which is interesting because I used to be a mortician. And I was totally fine on the job. I never had a problem while on the job, doing the embalmings and everything. Never had an issue. But watching movies with any kind of a body horror, it upsets me. I do not like it at all. I can't handle it. I have to cover my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Saw is not for you.
No, it's not for me.
Which is I did watch the first Saw. I'm going to say a year ago or something. I don't know, not too long ago. But it's just it is amazing watching that movie. And now knowing, I've not seen any of the other movies, but it's I know what these newer movies are. I know the extremes that it goes to. And it's just so wild to watch that first movie. And it's oh my gosh, this is the beginning. And it feels so mild. Comparatively, which is not a fun thing to say.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I did see this really interesting dive into the making of the first Saw movie. They went into how they did that needle scene where she has to jump into the pit of needles with syringes, and they actually took real syringes, took out all the needles and put in fake needles for that. So a couple of people had to spend hours taking the needles out of everything and then sticking the fake ones in, throwing them in the pit. And this actor had to actually jump into this pit with very real looking syringes and just trust that they got all of them. Oh my goodness. I could not.
I mean, at least in the sense of bodily injury and harm, it would be kind of minimal.
That's true. Yeah.
But that would still be horrific.
That would be kind of painful.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I mean, I'm not scared of needles, so that's probably me just putting in this is not an irrational fear of mine. I mean, yeah, snakes would get me. Not to give everyone the weapons of, hey, this is my psychological. That would probably freak me out. But a bat full of needles snakes. Definitely would.
Yeah.
Definitely would freak me out. But it's okay, if this is the worst of the Saw universe that I have to go up against, I can do it.
Yeah, honestly, same. I've heard of some of the other things they have to do, and I'm I'll pick the needle pit I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll jump in there.
I mean, I'd rather do none of it, but...
Well, yeah. But if I had to...
I love how I said that. I'm the one that brought up that's like, in the universe, if I had to do one of them, that would be the thing.
Yeah. I'd rather not have to, like, cut off a limb or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But anywho, yes, so fun. At this point, okay, so I guess other than from here, do we want to try to work out a little bit of a banter of closeout just for a little bit? I guess that should have been something to discuss and write about a little bit more.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, closing feelings, thoughts about the movie.
Yes, that's the main important thing.
Yeah.
Closing. And we got into a lot of it, but overall, again, like on the actual tier scale, dry eye, but in my heart, a 2 to 3. We're talking about just like, my like overall enjoyment. Shouldn't watch it. If this has been a thing in your sphere, if you like thrillers at all, if you even heard about this and it made you curious, I would say go ahead and watch it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
It's such an easy commitment with it being having such a short runtime. It's less than an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Beginning to end. That's including credits and everything.
Yeah.
So it's less than an hour and 21 minutes to watch the actual full film. Easy commitment to do that. Might be a little difficult to actually find it on a streaming platform because it does kind of hop around a bit. It was on Netflix for a bit, but when we tried to find it, it wasn't there anymore. Yeah. We had to go somewhere else to find it.
Yeah.
It's hard to find it without having to pay for it.
Yeah, and part of that too, always as a recommendation, your local library.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, just go check in and see what they have. Like, they're probably going to have a lot of options that you wouldn't even think that they would have.
Oh, absolutely. They have a large collection.
Yeah, most libraries can order in things too. So definitely have that as an option. I'm just going to check really quick to see if this is on Crunchyroll. Okay, it looks like it may not be on Crunchyroll, but, again, I believe that there are some various streaming platforms that it's on as well. Netflix was the main one. I would imagine it's still on Canada Netflix. If you get a VPN, I want to say I did see it on there.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, just if you can get a hold of it, if you've been thinking about watching it, get a hold of it, watch it. You're probably at least at the end going to think, okay, if it wasn't quite your thing, you've wasted probably more times on other movies.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an hour and some change is really not all that much to spend on something,
No.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a lot. Yeah. If you really like the psychological horror, definitely watch. Because I'm a huge fan of psychological horror type film and media. And this is definitely on my top 10 list for psychological horror things.
I would have to agree.
Absolutely.
I would very much have to agree. And like you were talking about before, seeing a YouTube video of talking about things such as Hereditary, Midsommar. Yeah, just in regards to... It's not those, of course. It's a different story, but along that realm of just psychological horror, make you feel really uncomfortable and unsettled while you're watching it. Again, a feeling that I love.
Which is so strange.
yeah, but it's just, I don't know. I have heard, of course, and I know this is a rhetoric and something talked about a lot, but people with high anxiety tend to gravitate towards horror and thrillers because they're formulaic. And another thing too is it's like you can take a break experiencing your anxiety because you're experiencing someone else's anxiety. So I think that is a lot of it for me. That feels accurate.
That kind of makes a lot of sense. Thinking about it, Yeah. I would say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Verbatim, Sarah Marshall, I want to say that she's the one that I heard kind of explain it like that. And it's like, that you're experiencing someone else's anxiety.
Yeah.
And
in a
it gives
safe
you a break.
environment as well. That makes a lot of sense because in a lot of different therapies, trauma therapies, It's all about separating yourself from the trauma and being able to re-experience it in a safe environment. And that's kind of like, a lot of horror films. You're in your home. You are safe in your home.
Mm-hmm.
None of these things are actually happening to you. And you have the power at any time to hit pause on that, take a break, go get a drink, get some popcorn, whatever you want to do, and come back to that when you're feeling ready. Like, you're not required to sit through the whole thing from beginning to end. And you're in a safe space to be able to experience this. So honestly, that makes a lot of sense of just being able to, take a break, experience some safe form of anxiety, and just, being able to enjoy that form of media in a safe way.
There we go.
Yeah.
We don't love it, but we love that there's something that can be done about.
Yeah, absolutely.
About our state of minds. Just, again, we're a couple of sad girls here. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking to you about anime. It's not always going to be sad anime that we talk about. Mm-hmm. We're going to definitely be pushing the realms of what we talk about, like branch out into various things. But yeah, just, again, reason going into this, I personally was trying to find more of something that it's like, okay, let's cover an episode or a movie of something animated or the anime style, and we're going to go into depth about this. I just couldn't find that when I was looking for it, and like feelings on it, like invoking of the emotional response that you have to media too in the anime sphere. Like, a lot of it was just, it's all very much like, this is what's happening this week in anime. So
like, oh yeah, this new episode came out here, it was good or bad. Also, this other show had a new episode. And blah, blah, blah.
But it's like, I just wanted to find something a little bit more like, okay, if you like this type of thing, maybe you'll like this, or this is what I thought about this. Do I feel that it's worth watching it or no, based on the type of things that we usually cover? There's a lot of flexibility. We'll see where things go.
Yeah, first episode, it's not, we're not going to have it all ironed out or anything. No. And we're doing this for fun more than anything.
For fun.
We have these conversations all the time anyway. We might as well record it and see how far it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing too, talking about this, as we brought up before, it's November of 2024. We are in the States, so we all know what that means. Everyone's been talking about it. Surprisingly, my family Thanksgiving, we didn't talk about it.
Surprisingly, mine either. Which is really shocking because my family is very, very, very Republican, at least on my dad's side. Because my dad's side is white. They are all from here, and he's the religious side that I grew up with. They are very, very Republican, very red. And I was really shocked that Thanksgiving went very well. Didn't hear a word of political things.
That's very good.
Which was very refreshing. Very nice. I was kind of worried going to Thanksgiving, like, oh man, I'm going to have to deal with this family member and that family member, but it ended up being completely fine. Everyone was very, just chill, just there to have a good time, talking to each other, playing games and things. So it was good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
Maybe it's because they were in a good mood because the election went their way. Maybe.
No.
I don't know. I was a little worried though because I was seeing a lot of Facebook posts from my family members of like, oh, big red wave, yay, we won, or blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I wonder how this Thanksgiving gonna go.
Do we have to hear about our new dictator that's gonna... And everyone just, I don't know the appeal. I don't know the appeal other than speaking of being gaslit.
Yeah, well, just from my experience, because I did grow up being very conservative, being very religious, being literally in the same headspace as these people, as my family members. And so I think I can understand very well where they're coming from with a lot of things. And a lot of it is fear. Like when I talk to my family members, when they're talking about different political things, a lot of it is that they're scared of a lot of different things happening. And they're exactly the same as other people who vote on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
We're all just scared of losing things, maybe different things, like maybe we're scared more of losing human rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're also scared of that there are different rights being taken away that are very important to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared of, having to give up land, give up things they own, give up rights that feel very important to them. They're scared about not being able to practice the religion that they very much believe and love, and their whole life is tied up into that. So they're scared of having to live in a world where they can't have that.
Yeah.
And it's all just fear. And it is so easy to control a population if you have them scared.
Yes. Very true. And I love the way that you explained. That was perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Not even was. That is perfect
Thank
explanation. And I can tell a bit in the tone of my voice that I'm going to go into a cynical realm. I'm sorry, everyone. That's not, especially after such a beautiful thing.
Uh-huh.
But just going into that's propaganda. There's literally targets on that, on getting people into such a frenzy of fear that they can't make certain decisions to the best of their abilities because the education that they're getting about it is just focused on their primary fears.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's sad that is a tactic so commonly used in order to gain power and control.
Yeah.
Especially and not to get too into it, but at least in our scenario right now, not to spell it out so much. I know I was kind of beating around the bush of it, but we now have a president who is a convicted felon that's going to be doing things against a lot of common people's good.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think I'm ruining the moment at this point.
No, but I think it does need to be discussed.
Yeah.
Because it is our reality.
And that is the reality and that is a lot of what I have been feeling too, is okay, yeah, this is the reality. And I also feel, because I don't blame these people.
No.
I really don't blame these people for what has happened. This has been instilled in you. These are tactics that were used in order to create this fear-mongering, get people into this realm of reality that someone else is going to take something from you. And we're in the United States, so it's typically that immigrants are going to come in and take everything from you, American-born citizen, even though all of your ancestors emigrated here. I know. Yeah, so typical. Yeah. Of course, everyone goes into that point of view and talking point. What are you even talking about? We've been here for a long time, and that's not quite how citizenship works. Sorry. But it's just, of course, the ironic things to point out about that. And again, I don't blame people. It's a tactic that's being used.
It's very ingrained in you.
Yeah.
It's a generational thing.
Yeah.
And you're surrounded by it. When everyone around you thinks and behaves the exact same way, it is so difficult to break out of that and kind of go your own way. I think the only reason I was able to kind of break free of all of that was because I am queer, I am bisexual, and my gender identity is a little fluctuating. And so I think being that way and then being able to make friends that were also outside of that religion and culture helped me kind of see a different point of view, a different reality. Because I think reality is all about perception.
Yes,
no
very
one's
true.
going to see the same thing the same way. Your reality is different from my reality.
Yeah.
And it's the same with everybody else. Everyone's going to have a different reality of what's going on. Just for the election results, to my family, their reality is great. Things are fantastic. Things are, going well. Our reality is well, now we're kind of terrified of this future that may or may not happen.
Yeah, and it's just... And too, the irony of this rhetoric of your rights are our rights.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, no, it's everyone's rights. It's so... both an enigma of sort and ludicrous, but so predictable at the same time, how that is so consistently something that really drives a lot of society, is this concept of, well, if you have rights, my rights are being taken away. When that's not the reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's about everyone's rights. It's about all of us doing well and working together to do well.
Yeah, I heard a good analogy a bit ago about when you're used to having the entire cake to yourself, it does feel kind of crummy when you have to give away a slice or two to someone else. And that's kind of what it is with privilege and just rights and things like that. It is, well, you're so used to being in this high pedestal area, it doesn't feel great to have to step down a step or two, give away a slice or two. It does feel like, oh, but what about me? What about me? When really you had more than you ever needed. Which I'm sure my family would call very communistic of me. And if it is, then oh well.
I guess the deep state really got to me and made me a commie, because the first thing I thought about when you gave that analogy, and I took it literally, is just like, well, a whole cake to myself is going to make my tummy really hurt. So I would like to actually give some slices away.
Absolutely. I can tolerate like half a slice. And I'm going to give the rest away.
It's just like, I took that analogy way too literally in my head. It is a fantastic analogy for that, because just, and of course, again, we're in the States, and you see this throughout quite a few cultures too, of like luxury is what creates your status, and the more luxury and goods that you have, even though they're not necessarily pertinent to your survival, that's how you can tell you're doing well in life. Like, that's your signifier. As opposed to just like, okay, you've bought the whole store cake and you can do that, and that's going to be your whole cake. It's like, we don't look about, well, do I just have all of the basic ingredients for the cake and to make other things with these basic ingredients for the cake, so then I can stretch out and have possibilities and do things more for myself and the people around me. I just totally, I don't think my thought was quite...
Yeah, didn't quite get there. But
didn't quite get there. That's going to be a lot of me.
I think I get the vibe you're going for.
Yeah, but it's just... Yeah, that is just a lot of it is, I have mine and I need to keep it.
Yeah.
And another, of course, something that I saw on Reddit that was probably something from Twitter or whatever, is someone talking about being at some type of event with their dad, or just talking about life in general, and their father basically saying, you shouldn't look at your neighbor's plate and think, do they have more? You should look at your neighbor's plate and think, do they have enough?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that is a mindset and shift that really needs to happen. Doesn't matter what side. Okay, we know certain sides kind of agree with that more than others, but everyone in general agrees with that. But the thing is practice and theory. You cannot have just theory that needs to be practiced. Who is practicing that?
Yeah.
That being what we base roles and recognition, and okay, you are fit to lead this group and society of people.
Yeah.
That needs to be the things that we're looking for, not just the theory aspect of it. But again, I don't blame anyone. I really don't.
No, because I grew up being them. I very much had that exact mentality that they have, and so I really understand where they're coming from in a lot of aspects. It is a very fear-driven thing. They don't want rights taken away. They're scared that they're going to have rights taken away, or that their lives are going to be forever changed in a way that isn't good for them. You know, they're scared for children, just like we are scared for children, scared in different ways.
Yeah.
but we're scared nonetheless. And they want to help people. Like, for example, for looking at homelessness, thinking about the whole, well, does my neighbor have enough? It is kind of similar with the way that I kind of grew up being taught. It was, well, you need to help out those in need, but you need to do what's best for them, not just give them everything they're ever going to need. Because the way that I was kind of taught growing up as well, if you just give the man the fish, he's never going to learn how to fish. You feed him for one day. But if you teach a man to fish, then he'll be able to eat for life. And they kind of take that saying a little bit too far, to the point where it's like, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps type mentality. We're not going to help you because this is good for you. I am helping you by not helping you. I am helping you become a better person because you're going to figure it out, and you're going to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and figure it out, and you're going to feel better about yourself because you'll be more accomplished and everything. It's not that that they're thinking, oh, I don't like this person, how dare they, or I don't want to help them at all. It's the way that they think about it. It's completely different. No one thinks inherently that they are a bad person. I'm morally wrong, so I'm not going to help that person. It's, okay, I'm a good person, and because I'm a good person, I want them to become the best version of themselves. And so I'm going to do XYZ or not do XYZ. Because if I just give them a house, then how will they appreciate that house? If I just give them food, they're not going to work for the food, and that's not going to be good for them. It's everyone kind of wants the same thing, just in different ways. And we all disagree about how to get to that end goal. They all want society to be good and happy and want everyone to have good lives, but they just want everyone to get there in a different way.
Yeah. It's, well, classic analogy, of course. And just to thinking about in that regard of, I did have it kind of growing up, but pretty early into adolescent and adulthood, I lost a lot of that like mentality of, oh, well, I'm a good person. Why, I don't know. I think certain people have certain mentalities that they grow into and are part of their development. So again, I get that into where I did have it in childhood, but now I just don't have it as much of an adult. So I yearn for that. I yearn for, oh, I'm inherently a good person. So my way of life, and putting that onto other people and telling them how they should live the way that I live is how that needs to be done. Again, I get it too, though. And just, but with that too, it's like, what if the man doesn't have arms to fish, though?
Right. Your analogy kind of breaks apart then.
I want to say that goes along with something with the newscaster talking about that whole mentality. And it's like, well, pull yourself up from your bootstraps. Well, what if you don't have bootstraps to even pull up? I can't remember. Everyone will know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. No, I agree with the analogy that you should help someone become the best version of themselves that they can be.
Yes.
But some people need some more support than other people in order to get there.
Yeah. And
that's not a bad
trying
thing.
to do a baseline of all of that just doesn't help.
Yeah.
Like, just to, I mean, it's the difference between justice, equality, and equity. Like, why do I want to say equality and equity are different, even though I know vocabulary wise they're the same?
Let me try to remember. I saw this chart a little bit ago about the words and the differences.
Words and I do not get along very well. That's my one weakness.
So from what I remember, equality is like everyone's kind of treated the same.
Yeah, we all got the same.
Equity is everyone gets an equal chance with the supports that they need. So like, if equality would be everyone gets the same exact starting point on a racetrack.
Yeah.
Equity would be more like, oh, you are missing a leg or two. Your starting point gets pushed a little bit farther forward to make up for that, so that you can have the same shot that everyone else does. kind of not equality, because you're not treated exactly the same as everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I'm only going to give crutches to these two people and not to these other two people, type thing.
Yeah.
They are different. And I am definitely more of a fan of equity rather than equality.
Yeah. Things are situational. That's... A lot of people don't like to look at things with nuance, and then that's what we're going to be trying to overall doing in life in general.
Yeah.
And here on this little show of ours.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, but no. Yeah.
Anyways, not to go on a whole tangent about politics, but that's our reality right now.
That is our reality. That's another thing I like about podcasts. It's kind of like a timestamp.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, to like be like, this is where we were, and we'll see where we are in like a year.
And even our opinions on things. You know, your mentality can change so much from one year to another. And especially for me, who like grew up completely conservative and now I'm the complete opposite. I'm interested to see how I'm going to feel, you know, even just a year from now. It'll be interesting to like look back and listen to these things. Yeah. And think, I used to think that way. And I wonder, am I going to think the same or am I going to be completely different? Who knows? Yes. I'm completely open to change, you know. Exactly. I like to think of myself as very open. New evidence comes through. I'm willing to accept that my worldview might be flawed or it just needs to be changed, you know, because you should be able to accept new information as it comes along.
Yeah. Yeah, that you should. And just... again, to bring into animate that, something we don't get a lot in America media is that change is okay, change is good. I know everyone's going to be like, there's a million examples of this, and that. But to be so direct with it, something that is a lot more present in a lot of animes is just, okay, we need to change and fortify as a person. And we need to be accepting of that change. And going back to Mima, she, in the scenario that she was brought into, she couldn't accept that change. But when she was finally able to grasp and accept that change, things got better.
Yeah. And her ending was good. She got everything she wanted.
Yeah. She had to change a lot about herself, her point of views, her thoughts, her mentalities, and what her reality was. Yeah. So... yeah, I think that is a fantastic closing. Yeah, on what we're trying to do here. And or just, again, have fun. That's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaneki, for doing this with me. Of course.
I was so excited when you brought up this fun little podcast idea. Because I've always had like ideas bouncing around in my head about doing a podcast or recording something. So I was so excited. Yes. So thank you for inviting me to this. I'm super excited about what the future holds. If it does hold anything. If not, we'll have had a good time. So.
And I guess I'll do a little placeholder in here too. So we're going to start with Perfect Blue. We're going to be doing something a little bit more fun. I'll probably have to voice record over this, but I'm thinking that we release this episode, another fun episode for you all, so you can have a 2-in-1 little listening. And after that, we'll see how some things go. We'll try either bi-weekly or monthly. Well, I think bi-weekly is reasonable. We can try bi-weekly and then see where things go from there for us.
Absolutely. We'll just have to kind of feel it out. You know, this is our first time really recording anything like this. So we don't know how both of our lives are going to play out with being able to edit things and get things released on a schedule type thing. Yeah. We'll just have to get a feel for it and see how things go.
Yeah. We'll see. But even if it's just for us, so much fun. If anyone's listening and liked it, yay, thank you. If you listened to this and didn't like it, well, I didn't force you to keep on listening to it. So...
that was your choice.
So. Yeah, that was your choice. We'll see how things go. I like to believe in the best for people, but I could definitely see some people as we progress with certain things of what I'm thinking we'll do that have real beef about two sad girls talking about animes.
Yeah. Though I will say, if you have like a genuine critique or advice,
yes,
and if wherever we're releasing this has like a comment section or something, please do like give genuine advice or like a good critique. We want to improve.
Yeah.
You know, if you have something like, oh, this could have been done a little bit better this way, or your editing is a little bit off, or anything like that, sound quality needs to be fixed, or whatever it is.
Please.
Yeah, please let us know.
Please, we are open to feedback. We love feedback. I mean, with that too, just to kind of make clear what our idea is, we are going to definitely go beyond anime at various points, things that are technically not, but they still fall within the realm or they're kind of adjacent. But two, we want to talk about like thoughts, feelings on, we're in like a renaissance of anime right now.
Absolutely.
I am going to say, I think it started in 2020 and it has just been continuing. There's been so many fantastic forms of media and anime, both film and show wise. There's going to be a lot that we cover.
Yeah.
With that, we're probably going to be covering more, again, some of these newer episodes of things that are coming out. Well, newer shows in general.
Right.
We want to cover a whole show for you or a whole movie. Something that's more like digestible. If we're doing shows of anime, somewhere between like 20 to 60 episodes, or if it's like a few seasons. We don't want it to be overwhelming. And with that, just to put the boundary, not doing One Piece. We're not doing Naruto. We're not doing Bleach.
Yeah, we're kind of generally staying away from the really stereotypical shonen animes.
Yeah.
Where it's just not that we dislike them. I mean, they're definitely not my cup of tea personally.
Yeah. We may talk about them culturally.
Yeah.
But we are not going to digest those for you. Yeah. Sorry, too much.
So I think the entirety of Naruto is like, what, 900 and something episodes?
Yeah, we're not going there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be brought up in like a cult, like you said, a cultural context, because they have influenced animation and storytelling in a lot of different ways, because there's such big beloved shows. We can't not ever talk about them. Yeah. But we're definitely not ever going to do like, oh, this episode we're going to be talking about Naruto Shippuden. That's not really going to... No, that's... not what we're going to be doing here.
So we are definitely open to suggestions too.
Absolutely.
Again, just keep in mind, here's how I will put it. I am a binger, so I can definitely get through something. And that's a part of why I wanted this too, is I've been cycling through quite a bit. But, like, I would have watched all of Attack on Titan first season in a day, but it just felt too overindulgent and wrong. Like, that's the level we're talking about here. So, yeah.
So, yeah, we're trying to keep that sweet spot of, like, 20 to 60 episodes. Yeah. Something that you can watch in a week or less type thing.
Attack on Titan's not the best example. We kind of go, but you guys know what I mean, like... Yeah, just not a huge commitment type show. Yeah, you know? Because some of those bigger shows are really big commitments, and for me, having ADHD, it is kind of a turn-off to see these giant shows, and I'm like, oh, man, it's intimidating.
Yeah, exactly. Intimidating is the right word, but... Yeah, so we're just going to try to stick to the shorter shows, more digestible type thing.
Yep. We're here to have fun, but also acknowledge that we need to be sad.
Yeah.
And that we are sad.
Deeply.
And that there are just a theme of something between us too, is there are certain things that we need to watch and experience for emotional release, because just because you're a sad girl doesn't mean you're good at expressing sadness.
Yeah.
If you couldn't hear my little peace signs that I just did at Kaneki, that did happen.
No, that's so true though. For me, I can't really express emotion in my like day-to-day life, at least not like negative emotions. So I definitely overcompensate with sad media. Yeah. Just like, I have been feeling really crappy. I know I need to cry. I'm gonna go watch Violet Evergarden.
Yeah.
Or, something.
Yep.
A real tearjerker, just to get it out.
Yep, exactly. For me lately, it's rewatching Free Run. We will eventually get there.
Yep.
Not now. And there's certain things too where it's going to be multi-episode because there's a lot to cover. But
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. There's our first episode. Thank you so much for joining us on this. If you didn't like it, maybe give us another shot with our second episode. We might have things a little better ironed out by then.
Yeah, again. Yeah, and again, like, by the time you're hearing this, the second episode should be there.
Yeah.
Because I do want to do something sad and happy for the beginning. I don't want it to all be sad because it's already a really sad time right now.
Oh, yeah.
At least for me, if it's not for you, I'm not quite sure why you're listening to this, but good on you. Thank you, actually. You should broaden your expanse and your experiences. I like to think that I do the same thing, but you have to practice.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes time and practice to open your mind up to view different experiences and worldviews and all of that.
Yeah.
So,
and I think anime is one of the perfect starting points for that because there's a lot of good ones out there.
Absolutely.
It's not just watching silly cartoons, I promise.
Yeah, some of them are.
Yeah, some of them are, and they're great.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. You need that. Again, we should have more of an upbeat episode for you too to listen to. And we hope just to help you with that, both for expressing sad emotion and happy emotion.
Yay.
Thank you all again.
Yep, thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, or I guess should we have another close off? We could try a couple different close off.
Oh yeah, we could try it. What should we say?
it might go into realm like I don't quite want to say sayonara. That feels a little too on the nose and too like, they're trying too hard now.
Yeah. Man, these dweebs.
Yeah. See, we don't want to quite come across dweeby, but I am a nerd. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess. Something about being sad.
Before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see if you'll need your tissue boxes next. Time on Sad Girls.
Thanks for crying with us on Sad Girls and Anime.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that actually is a good one.
Okay, we're doing that then.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
Do a 1, 2, 3.
Thanks you for crying with us on Sad Girls and Anime. There we go. Didn't even rehearse that.
Nope.